after work shed time again, and I told Milo we were making a film. We'll have to see if the little fella comes out when he hears my voice, because he often comes running, but we'll see. Tonight I haven't heard from my neighbour to see if he's available for when we need to take the car up to the inspector, but there's one last thing I need to do, which isn't actually for the low volume cert part. It's for the entry certification, which is getting the car on the road in New Zealand. And there's a rule that says any car first registered after, I believe it's 1990, has to have a high stoplight. So that's what I'm making. I've talked about this before. I recently got these little lenses off Trade Me. I'm not sure what these are off, possibly Morris Minor. But they're exactly the right size for the minimum size you can use. So tonight I've been making a little aluminium housing. It's a bit rough at the moment. I still need to fix it all up, and you can see I've got one of those lenses taped in there. In practice what I'll do is I'll silicone it in with some black silicone stuff. But what I've been doing is filing and sanding, which is why I've got the towel here to stop the dust going everywhere. This thing to follow the curve of the body, and I still need to weld up these corners. It occurred to me afterwards I should have done the welding first, because there's always the potential for that to go horribly wrong with aluminium, in which case I've just wasted an hour or so shaping this thing. But you basically get the idea. So that's going to bolt on there. I was toying with having it removable or on the boot lid, but that becomes a pain in the neck with the wiring and so on. So we're just going to attach it direct to the body. It'll be painted body colour. I don't think it'll look too out of place. It doesn't look modern. That's the main thing. When I weld up these corners, I'll file them so they're rounded, like on the bent edges, so it all matches. And then all I need to do is come up with some sort of bulb holder. It'll be really simple, just something like this, and that's a 21 watt bulb. No problem with heat, of course, because it is all it's all metal and glass, and that will have to go in there, something like that. I did also look at using the mechanism from one of the Lucas stop lamps, and these bulbs are actually little halogen. I think they're 10 watt each, so the bulb has to be at least 15 watts. That's a 21 watt standard sort of brake light. Tape isn't sticking. I may get better light from two of these smaller bulbs, in which case I can get a couple of small bulb holders and fit them in there. I think that might give me a much more even light. So that would be... no, probably not. I'm not sure. I want to use incandescents because I don't like the look of the LEDs, and I think if you've got LEDs it gets a bit more complicated. But this is a proper stop lamp glass, so that is okay. You are allowed to manufacture your own light. Yeah, I think if I had two of these, is it BA10 size holders, and arranged so the bulbs are pointing through the glass, that should be nice. There won't be any shadow or anything. The only other thing I need to do is figure out how I'm going to actually attach it to the car. I think what I'll end up doing is flush riveting two little tabs onto the side with just studs, captive studs that just go through the body. Hopefully it should go either side of the timber that goes through the middle there. I hope. Haven't actually checked that. Might be something I need to look at. It'll be something like that. That's not too hard to figure out, hopefully. But that gives the idea of the shape. Just nice and simple, kind of period. Doesn't look like a modern thing bolted on. That was basically the aim. So I think it's nearly 7:30 now. I think I will still need to finish filing this smooth to get it really nice, get all the edges fitting nicely. That'll bond in there quite nicely, and then tomorrow night maybe I'll have a go at TIG welding these up and sanding it all smooth. I think now what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll have a look for some of these BA10 holders. I may actually have some. Actually, I've got screw-in ones, I know that, but if I can get little bayonets, it might be better. It's Wednesday night, and nice day. It's quite hot, and I'm out after work. I have welded up the corners of my little high stoplight. I still need to file these and smooth the edges. The metal's still hot, so I'm waiting for it to cool down. And I did have something arrive in the post today, not related to the Riley, but it is to do with old cars, which is something I saw on Trade Me. It's a couple of SU carburetors, but these are downdraft SUs. So you can usually tell because they have this little oiler on the side here. I've literally just pulled these out of the box, but these are in nice condition. They weren't ridiculously cheap, but they weren't ridiculously expensive, and I don't actually need them. I just thought they were interesting. This is interesting because it's a little bit different to ones I've seen before. Normally there'd be a choke mechanism there, but in this case there isn't. They're also fairly large throat. Let's see what they actually are. I can never remember which side you're actually supposed to measure. Inch and 15/64, which is inch and a quarter, I think. What's this side? I think this is the side you're meant to measure. The side with the butterfly. 1 and 7/32. What's that? 1 and 3/16. I think it's 1 and 3/16. So it seems like a little bit of an odd size. I have no idea what these are off. They might be a bit too big for, say, an Austin 7, but I'll go through them and clean them up, and they seem in very good condition. And they do go, being downdrafts, they do go that way up. And this one is interesting because, again, it doesn't have a choke. There's a bit of wear there. This is where they wear usually, but you can fix all of that. I'll have to look in the little book and figure out what this all is, because I'm not sure what this is. This was the other reason I was interested in it, because I've not seen one like this, so I was interested to see what it is. I don't even know what that is. There's been some plunger there. This plunger goes down to the little float. They've got needles in there. Normally these things would come with a tab on them, or like a little metal label that would say what they are, but these ones don't seem to have that. But just the parts for these now are getting really expensive, especially when you have to get everything from the UK. So, don't know what I'm going to do with them. Clean them up and sell them on, maybe. You know, like I say, I don't actually need them, but nobody else bid, or nobody else did a buy now, so I thought, yep, let's have a look. But I'll see if I can figure out what they actually are and what their application is. And maybe there's someone who needs them more than me. I do have 2 other downdraft carbs. One is on the Austin 7 at the moment, and the other one is, I think it's in bits. I was halfway through rebuilding it. I need to find the bits and put it back together. But yeah, these things come up from time to time. Let's see if, yeah, this is cooled down now. My welding's a bit blobby, but that was the idea. I wanted to build up the corners so I can round them off. I may need to do a little bit extra. I got good penetration on that corner. That was the second one I did, so the metal was probably hotter. But it's penetrated enough on there. And then I need to finish sanding it on the body so the contour matches the actual car. And then last night I completely forgot to look up bulb holders, so I will do that tonight. It's actually a little bit too hot to be out here for too long tonight, but I don't really have too much more to do. I need to go and order the bulb holders if I can find some for this light, but you can see I've now filed and sanded the corners where I welded it up, the nice radius corners. I may still need to do a little bit of sanding to get this to contour to the body, but that looks pretty good. I may use some sort of gasket or rubber strip along the bottom edge just to help seal it. But that's come out really nicely. I'm quite pleased with that. It looks correct, which is kind of how it should be. The other thing I might need to do is figure out a what's called a Festo connector for the hose that goes to my gas bottle. I've had to attach and then remove the regulator because I don't want that plastic tube lying down here, because I'll trip over it or I'll crush it. So I need a quicker way of attaching and disconnecting that hose when I'm doing my TIG welding. So I need to look into that. And I also got in touch with the certifier today. He sent me a scan of this attributes form. And the reason NZTA didn't know about it is because it's not their form. It's the LVVTA form. And they use this to correctly note down some basic attributes of the vehicle so that it gets entered into the computer system correctly. And the main thing for this is because it is a replica and it is a low volume historic special, the make gets recorded as LVV, low volume vehicle, and the model is either custom or replica. And this is how you would get a custom built car through. In my case, it is a replica. It's a replica of an actual production car. And then in the model, in the submodel, sorry, you kind of say what it is. So as it's a replica, I have to say what it replicates. And in this case, the full factory name for these cars, and this is from period sales brochures and other information, was the Riley 9 Brooklands Speed model. That's the whole full name. So for me, the full name would be 1930 Riley 9 Brooklands Speed model. But I did say on the form, you know, if there aren't enough fields in the database for that, which would not surprise me, you know, the best shortened version would be 1930 Riley Brooklands, because that's kind of the name everyone would recognize and absolutely describes what the vehicle is. So we'll see how they get on with that. I have arranged to take the car in next week. I don't know what day yet. We're going to look at the weather, and then I'll hire a trailer, and my neighbour from across the road will help me with towing it there, because I don't have anything to tow it with, and I'm not exactly experienced with towing. It's very handy having an across the road neighbour who's a farmer, who's an expert at these kind of things and always willing to help, which is great. So that's kind of where we're at. There's not much more I can do on this. I will tie down the bonnet, maybe the boot lid as well, but it can't go anywhere because the fuel filler cap stops the boot lid flying away, but just in case it decides it wants to flap around. So I'll just rope these down or nylon strapping or something. eventually, of course, I'll get leather belts. And then once we start going through the process, I'll get the car back, strip it all down, paint it, and then reassemble it completely properly. So there's a few places I need to drill holes for the split pins. Everything's just loosely assembled. So the whole lot will have to come apart, be reassembled, and then I need to do the wiring. And that's kind of it. On the form, there are fields for when it was started and when it's going to be completed. And if I go back and look at all the films I've made, I've had the car as bits for longer than this, but I kind of really started putting it together in 2017. So it's been sort of 8-9 years so far. That's kind of how long these things take. The whole point of me documenting it is to show realistically what's involved. That's why I don't really edit things. I don't film absolutely everything. I've always said I'm making a car, not a YouTube channel or films, but it really takes an awful lot of time. And you know, a lot of what people film and show on YouTube is just the shortened version, and that's not even taking into account the amount of effort they have to spend to film everything nicely. So you know, the people who are doing that are putting in double the effort. So kind of have to appreciate them for that. I don't have the patience for it. I'd rather just work on the car. But, the other thing I'll need to talk to the certifier about is where exactly do I hang the rear number plate? Being a pointy tail car, if you put it on this side, you can't see it from the other side. I'm not sure if there's a rule about that it has to be on one side of the car or the other. Yeah, that one could be interesting. You can't paint it on. Technically, that's not actually allowed. You can't really stick it sideways. That's not really allowed. So we'll have to see what they say. That's probably more likely to be NZTA, not LVV, who have the opinion on that and what I need to do. But yeah, the little lights come out well. So the next step for this will be see if I can get some bulb holders, and to mount it I am going to flush rivet with aluminium rivets a metal strip, a steel strip inside there. Steel because then I can soft solder or braze on a couple of nuts on that strip so that I can attach this via screws from underneath. I think that's the safest way to do it. If you try to have studs going through into the body, you have to make absolutely certain those studs cannot come undone, because then you'd never be able to undo the bolts if they start spinning. So that's why I prefer to do it the other way around. But I think that'll look fine. Kind of looks like it's part of the car. And, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And one last quick thing, I don't think I ever showed how this jerry can came out after cleaning it up and painting it and sticking on a transfer that a friend of mine sent me. She has a vinyl cutter, and I also had to replace the rubber gasket, but those are just easily available from China for a couple of dollars, and they seem to do the trick. So, you know, that came out really well. Not bad for, I think it was $7 for the can, probably about $40 or $50 for the can of paint, but that's okay. It's a nice usable piece now.